Morning guys, so great to be reporting back after a awesome opening working race weekend for me and for Hollywood Hills in 2019. First things first, I want to say, been driving around in all kinds of style, much more luxury than I'm used to, and a big thanks to Albert Spalding and the guys from Mercedes-Benz East Rand. They hooked me up with an absolute rock and roller of a Mercedes-Benz X-Class as a test driver for the weekend, and didn't miss a beat. Smashed all the way up the highway to Middleberg and back, and then I was running around the burbs for another event that I had yesterday over in Edenvale. But very cool vehicle. Thanks again guys, we do appreciate it. So what actually went down this weekend? Well, it was the opening round of the brand new series of the 424 Cross Country Racing Championship. Jonathan Horsforth and the guys up there in Middleberg used to run the Ride for Damien events, the charity events, and then got a taste for running events, and for 2019 running a full 6-round championship race series. So this was a real suck it and see tester for them and for me, to be honest. I didn't know what I was going to expect when I went up there. Worked on the mic, but very cool crowd up there as well. Middleburg has always had a good catch, you know. They get a lot of the guys from deep in Pretoria, a couple of guys from Springs and Secunda, that kind of area, and obviously the local guys from Mpumalanga. The way the track was laid out, it was set out to be a 35k loop. They ended up having to do a little bit of last-minute.com to trim back one of the areas that was really bogged out. We were working in the area on the other side, the opposite side of the highway than the Farm Jam guys, and that meant we were racing around the Pienaar Dam, and just a lot of the rain over the 2 weeks building up to the event had bogged it out a little bit. So 35k's became just over or just under 28 kilometers, and generally really good feedback. Tough layout though, tough track. You talk about a track that's laid out under 30 kilometers, you'd expect the fast guys to be doing around about 25 minutes. The fastest guys were on the quads and the bikes were not able to go under 30. I think it was the fastest standing lap was a 31.4, something like that, from one of the big bikes. But we'll talk about the categories just now. But really good track, really good layout, good feedback, and looks like an exciting start to a new series and a new championship. When you looked at the categories of the guys and girls that were up there as well, it was pretty much the categories that we always speak about on the rest of the tours as well, you know, so all the quad categories, the juniors, and all the motorcycle categories. The day ran, I think the first race started at 9:30, just a little bit late, so that we could actually do those adjustments, and it was the right call to make as well. We were under threat of rain from about 11 o'clock. It was supposed to land on us at 11. We got away with it. We pretty much, I think it was the last lap of the senior bike race, around about 3:30, where the guys actually suffered a little bit of rain. But other than that, they really did get away with absolute perfect race conditions. A little bit moist in the lowlands, but otherwise nothing too nasty. As far as the categories go, the juniors, we fielded around about 10 kids across the categories. We put them all together, and they were chaperoned by marshals and the moms and dads, and they had a really good time. The track was around about 8 kilometers, and nice easy way to ease the kids into it. So that was good, and I think they'll see some good growth across all of the categories for the kids when they just get the name out there. I think this first event did them a really solid job of kind of putting themselves on the map. The quads, a lot of unknown factors up there. I saw Swanee Racing was in the house, so you know I tagged him as the standout favorite for the event, and he didn't let me down. So Swanee's done a bit of work on his bike in the off season. Thought we were going to lose him to off-road car racing for a second there, and thankfully, in a way, those plans fell through. So we get to keep Swanee on quads for a little while longer. So he is going to be racing the full tour for the 424 series, as well as all the rest of the series that we cover here on Hollywood Hills. So he walked away with a big win. He was chased down by the big 4x4 Can-Am as well, and all the categories showed some good fielding as well. I think they really enjoyed themselves. Lots of guys suffered with punches. The way that the ground is laid out there, it's pretty baked hard pack in the highlands, with a lot of little lurkers kicking around, so a lot of guys did suffer punches. So they'll learn their lessons, and they'll be running moose systems or some of the ball systems as well that the other guys run. But really good fielding, and they really enjoyed themselves as well. It was predicted to be a 5-lapper, got trimmed back to a 4-lapper, otherwise we were just going to run the day too late. But really good feedback from the quad guys as well. They enjoyed themselves, and I think the quads made up something like probably 35 to 40 entries. So when we talk about a few years ago that quads were really on their arse and battling to get entries at any of the races, those are pretty decent numbers. So I was happy to see that. Then the second half of the day was all about the two-wheelers, and that gave us really good lineups. We ran them kind of hare scramble race style, so line up in your rows, go racing, and we allowed them to not put their hands on their heads. There was a lot of newbies, so didn't want too many people stalling. Just bikes in neutral, hands on the bars, 3, 2, 1, go for it. Good gate of big bangers, opened up the racing, and then we went down the list, OR2, OR3, OR4. George De La Rosa, a name that I've seen racing for a few years, haven't seen him for a while though, took a few years off, came out swinging. He got the whole shot, ran the numbers on the first lap. He started getting chased down by the fast kids in the TNT racing team, and that's Jaco and Jandre Nordia. They ended up going and actually taking the wins in each of the categories that they entered. Not just that, they took the overalls 1 and 2 for the day. A crash on lap 2 for George put him back, and he was battling in the later laps because they did run a 5-lap race format for the bikes. And he had to battle his way to try and hang on to 3rd place. He couldn't manage that actually, but he did get 4th place overall, and that gave him the win in the OR1 Big Banger category. But he definitely was on for a top 3 overall, if not a win overall, if he hadn't taken that big dive on the second lap. But fair play to Jaco and Jandre. They really showed some class, and I think they've come out into the season swinging. Some of the first wins they've taken as well, so that's going to really boost their confidence. 3rd place overall in the day was quite fun for me. A familiar name that we know and have followed. This kid coming up the ranks from 85 small wheels to 85 big wheels, and he makes the big jump up now into 125s, and that's Carl Branson. Stays with the Trax KTM program, and up until now, up until this weekend, really just been burning motocross laps, spending a lot of time at Rhino Park with the lads. So really not too much suspension setup, not too much off-road setup, even still had tubes in his bike for this event, but had a good gate. The 125s, there are only 3 entries for the 125s, so they were grouped in with the OR3 category. He pinned it off the line, didn't a whole shot, but managed to plow his way through the field pretty decently, and like I say, eventually challenged his way up into a top 3 overall. He got 3rd place on a 125 overall on the gate, and obviously took the win in the 125 category, so that was very cool. The rest of the classes, we mixed them in. You know, we had to combine the ladies in the wild class as well as the seniors and the masters, but that's all positive. It made sure that everyone had someone to race with. No one was going to be by themselves out there the whole day. And the bikes alone were just under 100 riders on just the bike category. So I think it was a really good start. Going forward into the rest of the season, there's 5 more rounds remaining on the 424 tour, and the track will be tweaked. I know Jonathan looked real tired, but he needs to get a high five for this one. He put in some good work, and the entire crew up there for the 424 racing development squad did a great job of putting this event together. Some challenges, as we all know, they always come up at thelastminute.com, but the overall feedback that I got, and I really did enjoy working up there myself as well. It was a good event, and I'm quite excited to see the growth of this event as the year goes on. So that's us into the racing month of February. Very, very cool to actually just get things up and running. I had an awesome busy weekend, and just chuffed, you know. I like it this way. So what else is coming up? Well, 2 weeks time, really it's the big banger, the season opener for a lot of the categories of races that race in the Northern Region Championship and the Gauteng Series GXCCs. So they just dropped last week their poster advertising, they're opening their entries, and I'm expecting big entries this time around as well. We know that a lot of the guys based in KZN have signed up to race for their sponsors on the GXCC tour, so we should be seeing people like Flanny, Swanepoel, he's back to full health. It's going to be really stacked gate racing, and I'm more than excited about it. So that's in 2 weeks time. This coming weekend, it's the opening round of the Northern Region's Cars event, so I might be popping up there. That's up in Camille. Otherwise, I'm going to take a short breather, and then I'll join you guys on the line for the GXCCs. So that's really going to kick off the full-time racing year as we get into some of the more serious events. And then going forward into March, I'll start mentioning this now as well, because their entries are open as well, and that's for Farm Jam. I'm working closely with Leon and Melissa and Rowan up there once again from Vans Racing as they get themselves ready for a full attack on Farm Jam. They've done a lot of work up there. We're going to be feeding you some more information as we build up to the event, but the date is the 2nd of March. So not too far around the corner, 3, maybe 4 weeks to get yourselves prepped and locked and loaded. As far as the calendar goes, it looks like it's a pretty decent date. So we should be able to catch a lot of the off-road and hare scramble style riders. They'll be based out at Dirt Tracks once again. The Dirt Tracks facility has seen a lot of development. Not too much work on the enduro cross side of it, with us not running the FJX for a season or so now, but a lot of work on the motocross side, and that should really help us out using that area that they run on the left hand side of Middleberg across the back end of the town. So that's very exciting, and we're going to be building up as we get more information, visuals and media from Leon and the crew up at Farm Jam. So that's really cool. Some more news on the home front here. You'll have seen that we said cheers, adios, and high five and thank you to Gareth and the crew up there at Holeshot. They were with us on the second half of last year, and they've stepped out now to concentrate and pull some of their budget for their enormous MCA Holeshot Husqvarna race team. We'll get them back on board at some point though, don't you worry. But we have replaced them with some old buddies from Hollywood Hills from the early days. We've been reporting on these guys. We've watched them grow as a development team, and now they are a standout full-on factory squad basically. Of course, talking about 421 Racing. Gideon Jacobs really made the brand and the name famous, and since then Marty Backfisher coming on board, a couple of other riders getting picked up late on in the season. Last year, beginning of the year, it was all about Brian Herbst getting picked up and racing and walking away with the Masters Championship. So 421 Racing actually come on board, so we're working with them, promoting them as a racing brand, as well as helping them just get their name out there a little bit more as far as race prep and looking after the riders goes. So we'd like to say a big warm welcome with open arms. Thanks guys, it's going to be great to have you on board. So that means we've got 421 Racing, we've got 424 Racing Cross Country Series on board as a sponsor, and of course we have Farm Jam back on board. So great to have some old buddies and some new friends in the mix for Hollywood Hills. That makes it a little bit easier to run the program, and it should be a really successful year with these guys on board. We are also in talks with a couple of other guys to try and make sure that we can get down to some of the more expensive events down in KZN and Cape Town to cover those extra costs. For now, I'm going to sign off with that one, so we hold our breath and get ready for the opening round of the GXCCs, followed by the opening round of Farm Jam. We have just ticked the first box, and that was the opening round of the 424 Cross Country Championship Racing Series. It's been great. I will report back next week. Start looking at a couple of the teams. We should be able to get a rider lineup on some of the big factory squads. This is what I always look forward to at the beginning of the year, to introduce who's on what and racing where. For now, I'll sign off. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. We hope to see you up at some of the other events that we're covering. The 424 series, brand new to us, but we are back on board, as I say, with GXCC and Farm Jam once again. Check in next week. The first 424 event of the year is dedicated to the passing of Flip Della Rosa, a father, husband, and pit crew that will be sorely missed.